Hello, and welcome to 15 Minutes of Fame. My name is Robert Voisey. I'm the director of 15 Minutes of Fame. And 15 Minutes of Fame is 15 one-minute works that are written for a specific musician or instrument or ensemble. Um, Today, we will be featuring David Bohn on the Melodica, a very unique and interesting instrument, and we put out a call for scores to get musicians to write for this. David Bohn is hails from Wisconsin near Milwaukee. He is a fabulous organist and composer, and David is a longtime veteran, and I would say, ooh, uh, special instrument aficionado. We've done this call for the melodica for 15 Minutes of Fame. We've also done toy piano and Taisha Goto. And he's played many, or he's dabbled in many, many different instruments. So we're wonderful to have him part of 15 Minutes of Fame again. We are going to start this set of 15 with a composer, Jim Dalton, that hails from Massachusetts. Let's bring Jim on. Hey, Jim, how's it going?
Pretty good, Robert. How are you?
I'm doing well. So we're talking about veterans. David is a veteran. He's played a lot. He's also composed a lot for 15 Minutes of Fame. And you are also a veteran for several 15 Minutes of Fame.
Yes, including several that David has played too.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Why don't you tell us, say your name and tell us a little bit about you and your piece. Oh,
Um,
let
I'm
me.
a
I'm sorry. Say it again.
all set now. Okay. Hi, I'm Jim Dalton. I'm a professor at the Boston Conservatory at Berkeley, and I'm actually living in Rhode Island now. I, I used to be living in Massachusetts, but we're in Rhode Island now. Um, Yes, my piece is a fugue, and if you know about fugues, you know that what happens is each different entering part, entering voice, uh, uses the same thematic material, and in such a short format as 1 minute. It actually made me think of a piece that Peter Schickele wrote um, once that was it started the performance with this long fugue exposition, a fugue subject, and it went on for well over a minute. And just about as the second voice is entering, the stage manager comes on and says, well, we've been doing some calculations behind the scenes, and we've decided that this is going to go way over time, and we have to insist that you don't play it. I was faced with exactly the opposite problem here. We had to have a subject that was very short. So this subject has two pitches, but four notes. The first one repeated three times. And I decided to use David Bohn's initials for this subject. So that's what you'll hear in my fugue.
Well, hello, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. My name is Paul Dice, and my music is primarily inspired by just about anything that happens in nature. And this piece is no exception. It's called Hops and Quivers, and it was inspired by a brisk walk in the woods I took, and I noticed grasshoppers and butterflies were scampering away from me as quick as they could, almost like they thought I was encroaching on their space, which of course I was. But anyway, I thought about this call for David and his Melodica and thought, hey, this just might work. So got home, got going on it, and I just want to thank David and Robert for giving me the opportunity to share it with you. So I hope you enjoy it.
Hi there, my name is Volker Ignaz Schmidt. I'm a composer from Germany. I live in the southwest part of the country, just very close to the Black Forest. My piece, The Wasteland, which I wrote for David, is inspired by the aura of the Melodica. Those desperate, vast, empty sounds bring to me the image of a landscape like the desert or the sea, a lost place. Feeling into this world, a line of T.S. Eliot's famous poem The Wasteland were coming to my mind, which then got a final inspiration for the piece. I will read this for you. I could not speak, and my eyes failed. I was neither living nor dead. I know nothing, looking into the heart of light, the silence. Öd und leer das Meer.
Excellent. Wonderful performance. Let me bring on Alex. Hi, Alex. How are
Howdy,
you?
how's it going? I'm doing good.
Great. Thank you for joining us.
Of course.
Why don't you state your name for the record and tell us a little bit about yourself and your piece?
Sure. So I'm Alex Mist. I sort of do a lot of different things. I like to compose and songwrite. I love teaching myself all sorts of different instruments. So I'm a mandolinist primarily, but I like experimenting with all sorts of stuff. I actually own a very cheap melodica myself. And every time I'm playing around with it, I really like to see the way that like how hard you breathe and kind of just really leaning into like barely playing happens, especially like, for example, if you're to hold down a few keys, the reeds might not all activate all at once. Usually, I believe the lower ones do, and then some of the higher ones, it takes more energy to get there. So as I was writing my piece, Moon Guide, I was kind of playing around with that, and I really wanted to focus on that breath aspect. So I ended up writing things with like these drones, and I would add like melody over that, and they all kind of just like go through these cycles of fading in and then kind of going from quiet to like louder to quiet again and into silence. And as I wrote through the piece, it kind of felt very like tidal to me, which is where the name Moon Guide came from. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's get David on for Moon Guide.
I am very happy to participate in the 15 minutes of fame project for Melodica instrument that I love. Thank you very much, David Bohn, Robert Boyside, and everyone who made this project possible. Greetings.
Buongiorno a tutti, sono Pierluigi Tanzi, compositore e docente italiano. Grazie a Robert per l'occasione di questo evento e David ovviamente per la selezione del brano. Il brano per Melodica, intitolato Sfizio numero 2, è sinonimo di piccolo desiderio, piccolo divertimento, piccolo capriccio. Gli elementi sono elementi essenziali, semplici gesti melodici, alla ricerca di una forma di mini polifonia, gesti che si sovrappongono tra di loro, costituendo l'intelaiatura del brano stesso. Grazie e buon ascolto.
Fabulous. We're gonna wait for David to prep, just get himself ready, because he'll be playing with two hands now instead of just one. Yeah, the melodica is such a very interesting instrument. I love 15 Minutes of Fame giving sort of a space for all these interesting instruments and for composers to take a little try or test their hand in it. And I think with that said, we're going to come up to our last four pieces. And let's bring on David with we starting the next set off with actually his brother, Jim. Awesome. Another veteran in 15 Minutes of Fame is Eric Branch. Let me bring him on. Hi, Eric. How are you?
Hi, Robert. I'm okay, thank you.
Excellent. Eric, why don't you give us your name and tell us a little bit about yourself and your piece coming?
Oh, of course. My name is Eric Branch, as we just said. I'm originally from New York. I currently live in the Orlando area in Florida. I'm active here as a composer, as a musical director, as a pianist. That's what I do a lot of the time. Cocktail piano, arrange. I've sung as an operatic tenor in like 20 years, local operatic choruses, and I've acted on stage and screen. Now, before I talk about the piece, I have to say that David Bohn is basically my Ricardo Viñas. I know he's played more of my pieces than anyone else. I just counted, it's 8 for almost as many different instruments. Now, this particular piece, the title, Honey Gatherers of the Spirit, came after fact. I always find the title comes last. Basically, I'm first of all concerned with creating a piece in 1 minute that's a complete entity. That's the hard thing. Jim Dalton was saying something like that at the beginning. And I was also wanting to showcase the Melodica's ability to do both the melody and the accompaniment. Because most people think of the Melodica as just, something playing solos a la John Baptiste. So when I wrote this piece, the way that it has its quality of agitation and darting about, it suggested, and as well as the sort of reedy texture of the melodica, suggested insects and buzzing around. And I think a lot of these little, the little vamp passages in it, they remind me of, things like the Bartok insect pieces. So that's why the quotation, which is from Nietzsche, came to mind. Honey gatherers of the spirit. And that's really all I can say about it, except that David has inspired me to take up the melodica.
I think he has definitely inspired me as well. So yeah, let's listen to your piece. Awesome. Let's bring on all the composers. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you. Let's see. Where is David? Oh, there he is. David. Wonderful job, David.
Yeah.
Yes, good
Yes.
job.
Thank you. Although in truth, at the end of it, I want to take another shot at Luis's piece. I kind of goofed it up rather badly, so at some point I want to do another quick shot at that piece.
That sounds good. Meanwhile, he definitely did enjoy it. We can play that as an encore. What do you think, guys? I think that
Yeah,
would be
definitely.
Oh,
Yeah.
We'll take a minute and so forth. So what did everybody think? How'd it go?
Yeah.
Very well. Yeah.
Fabulously.
I'm still hearing a few.
When I
mistakes.
wrote my piece, I wasn't 100% sure that it could be played at something approaching that tempo. It sounded incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it worked really well. Yeah, it's a really interesting instrument. I'm definitely intimidated by it. How about that?
For sure.
And it works as a spirometer too, apparently.
Yeah.
So Alex, you've composed for the Melodica before. Eric and Jim, have you done so
Yes.
as well? Yeah.
Yes, I did a 20-second piece, I think, for you, David,
Oh,
Yeah.
when you had the COVID-19. Because of it,
Yeah.
the pieces were all 20 seconds because it's how long you're supposed to wash your hands.
that's funny.
Nice.
Well, also that, and I was looking at the logistics of recording in my apartment, and given that I live 2 doors off of a main drag with a hospital emergency room about 3/4 of a mile away, I wanted pieces that were short enough that I might actually manage to achieve them in one take.
There you go.
I hear you. Where my thesis piece in grad school was recorded was right near the window, and at one point an ambulance went by, and you can hear this distant woo.
I had a very early introduction to the melodica. My father had one, and then he decided when I was rather young and just starting some piano lessons, he decided that he wanted to get one for me and one for my mother, and we could play trios. And we did a little of this, not nearly on this kind of level. It was basically, just simple tunes, easily harmonized, but now I wish I still had that instrument, and I'd take another serious look at it. So
You anticipated the melodica men.
well, that was 60 years ago or something like
Yes.
that. So
It's considerable anticipation.
And Alex, I loved what you did with your piece. Exactly what you said. You just sort of let the sort of harmonics and notes find themselves as the breath goes through the instrument.
Thank you
yes.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like how it turned out.
Yeah, awesome method. So what do you say, Dave? You want to do an encore?
Yeah, let's do the dream once more.
Hold on. Let me just... Fabulous. Well, I also want to just make a quick comment on how great. Well, Dave he's a composer, so I'm sure he feels for all of us. But he is a great advocate and champion to new music in general, and to composers and getting their pieces heard, which is why he's been in at least 15 minutes of fame. I think it's a little bit more than that, to be honest with you. Yeah, right, Dave. You've been in 15 minutes of fame a lot. You've performed at least 8 different sets or projects, calls.
Done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the 9th set.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
As a
it's a
performer,
ninth
and
call, right?
What?
It's a 9th call.
No.
Okay.
For 15 minutes of fame, it's the 5th call.
It's a 5th call.
But I got multiple sets off of several of those calls, so
Right.
Right.
And you've done your own calls for things, because you've
Yeah, I've-
performed 8
I've
of
done
my
4
pieces, premiered.
4 outside calls, yeah. 2 of them along the line of the New York Miniaturist Ensemble's 100-note calls, and then the 2
Yes.
COVID calls.
Right.
So, yeah.
Fabulous. And we'll be doing all 4 sets of your toy piano calls for 15 minutes of fame.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a
that's-
question,
will be coming out
actually.
soon.
I have a question for
Yes.
David. David, of the pieces that you played single-handed, could those have been played on the clavietta as well?
Most
Says
of
you-
them could have, yeah.
Yeah.
The big thing with the clavietta is it's actually missing the low F and F sharps, so any pieces that involve those notes would not work on them. But aside from that, yeah, everything is more or less interchangeable between those instruments.
What's the clavietta?
It's very similar to this.
Yeah, it came out at about the same time. I would describe the biggest difference is a melodica sounds much like an accordion, where a clavietta sounds much more like a harmonica.
Gotcha.
It's a timbral difference.
And I forget, did you guys attend the sort of workshop that we did with the melodica?
I did not.
I did.
I don't think I did.
I know Jim.
I did. Yeah. And that was very helpful,
and-
actually.
And Paul Dice also attended that. So,
Yeah, and you found that helpful?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's something I want to try to keep doing with 15 Minutes of Fame. It's a great way to. I mean, I would think that all the composers would want to participate in the project and get to know the musicians and the composers, and just to keep that sort of networking going on.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you're writing for an instrument that's a less well-known instrument. I mean, you don't find anything about the bayan in orchestration books.
Right. Well, and there's also just, unique things that every musician can and can't do, right? That they, I don't know, either their fingers aren't big enough, their breath isn't long enough, or the other way around, they have huge range or can circular breathe or do something like that. It's just...
Or you can't flutter tongue to save your soul.
Sure.
There's all sorts of... Well, I mean, and that's the beauty of working with different musicians, too, because they're just as diverse as, composers' aesthetics are.
Yeah, and that's one of the dangers of writing for your own instrument, too. I found a couple of times I've written things for the guitar or the mandolin that I could do very easily, and then when I ask somebody else to do it, it's not really always that easily manageable. And sometimes it's not
Yes.
just the person's technique, but it's the actual instrument. You know, there are certain things that my mandolin can do that don't really speak well on another mandolin, for example, you
Right.
know, and things of that nature.
Absolutely. You know, it's so you know, and I think it's also great for composers and musicians to just sort of understand those differences exist, right? I
Hmm.
mean,
Yeah.
I always love telling. I do a lot of electronic music, and it's always funny to speak to a composer about how much the hall will change how your electronic work sounds, depending
Mm.
on you know the
That
dynamics
reminds
of the
me.
room.
Mm. That reminds me of this famous comment of the soprano Phyllis Curtin. She said, "It's not so much whether I have a high D, but whether this room has a high D." Because it really is, acoustical, whether things
Absolutely,
work or not. Yeah.
absolutely, especially for voice, right?
Hmm.
I,
Yes.
yeah, it's good to be in a welcoming hall. I've been there and done
One of
that
the
too.
longtime music critics here in the Milwaukee area was a composition major, and he took lessons, workshop lessons with Pauline Oliveras. And he
Oh.
described
Mm.
the very first lesson that the class had with her. They met at the appropriate place and time, and she walked into the room with a trumpet player. And she said, the trumpet player played like 3 or 4 notes, and then Pauline said, "Follow me." And they went around the building and a few neighboring buildings, stopping in various places. And the trumpet player would play the same series of 3 or 4 notes. And by the end of it, they had been in a dozen different spaces in the course of this class, listening to this exact same series of notes from the trumpet player. And Tom called that one of the most eye-opening lectures on music. And all she said was 2 words. But it really showed how the acoustics of the space matter in the piece.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. I think what's also really unique about that is were they playing the same notes over and over again?
Yeah,
Because the same notes
it
will
was the
also
same
change
sequence of
over
notes
time.
for every single space.
Right. Yeah. It's just the sound is a very interesting phenomenon. Cool. Well, does anybody want to say anything else? Another questions for David or me or?
You have a new call out, David, I see.
Yeah, it just came out tonight, yesterday. This will be my first call since 2015 for my primary instrument. And it also the first call since that 2015 call that is actually going to be resulting in an honest to goodness live concert performance with audience and everything. So I'm looking forward to seeing what might come in on that call.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot
Yeah,
of fun.
definitely.
Mm.
So that call is for Oregon. And that's what Oregon is that, David?
It's by a Milwaukee German immigrant builder named William Schilke. It's in a little country church north of Milwaukee, out in the middle of nowhere. Literally, you drive by it on the freeway, and there's 2 houses in the church. There isn't even a bar to make it qualify as a proper Wisconsin small town. it's the oldest surviving instrument by this builder. It was originally built for a church elsewhere in Wisconsin. This is at minimum its fifth home, possibly sixth or more. There's a stretch of about 30 years where we're not quite sure where the instrument was.
And it has no pedal board.
It was built with no pedal board. It's a very tiny instrument, but the reality of this call is that you'd be surprised at the number of incredibly tiny pipe organs there are around.
Oh, yes.
And this one might be, it's not the smallest I've ever played. I've actually played smaller, but I literally just did a very short performance for a conference on an instrument the exact same size. For that one, I did some Renaissance music, but yeah, these tiny instruments are all over the place, and it's nice to do pieces that don't require the organ equivalent of a Mahler orchestra.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. And like I said, we have an album coming out. So the toy piano album of 60 pieces plus a couple extra, or we're in the mastering stage. So that'll be out before the end of the year. How about?
Nice.
Let me under promise and over deliver. And I guess, the thing is so funny. I would say about a month ago, I realized that this is the 15th year of 15 Minutes of Fame. We started back in 2009. And so, yeah, for everybody else out there listening, we have, at this point in time, we just finished a call for Trio just last Saturday. But never fear. Like I said, we've got the organ call, but we have 5 other calls for scores that's out there. And Eric, I don't know if you noticed did you see the aria call?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, very unique, and it's one of the few calls we're actually allowing composers to submit more than one piece. So because we have 4 sopranos that have signed on to that, and we're hoping.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it too. Great, everyone. Thank you again for joining. And,
thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Robert, David.
And Dave,
and
thank
David,
you.
of course.
And David, thank you. Really awesome. Great playing. And we'll see you all on the next one.
Okay.
That's good.
For sure.
Take care.
So long.